Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas. Today we're in San Clemente, California. We crashed Nate Yeomans' garage to do the review on the Puddle Jumper Pro. Nate, stoked to have you on the show.
Yeah, handshake. Welcome back to California.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a rad board I've got to work with Matt on and fine tune, and I'm stoked to talk to you guys about it. So break it down.
This will be fun. Sit back, get your favorite drink, enjoy the show. Now, Nate, you and I out surfing, having fun. I was reading the description on the Lost website that this is kind of your baby. You and Ben Kelly working with Matt on the Puddle Jumper Pro. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Puddle Jumper, original Puddle Jumper he came out with years ago, which was a super fun board for grovelly surf. And then Matt made the Puddle Jumper HP High Performance, which I really liked. And I took it to him and said, hey, can you just soup this thing up a little bit more and just add a little bit more rail line and turn it into more of a hybrided shortboard than what the HP was.
Sure.
And he was stoked to take on the challenge. My Puddle Jumper HP was 5'6", and so now I'm riding a 5'8" Puddle Jumper Pro. So 2 inches longer, narrowed it a little bit more, kept the same low tail rocker, added some more nose rocker, and I call it like a shortboard-hybrid. It's an absolute blast. I love it as a quad, which I don't have many shortboard outline boards that I like as a quad. And then as you got it set up here as a thruster, gives it more of a shortboard feel. The quad loosens it up. And it's a board I ride from 1 foot to 6 foot, and I keep it in my van or truck everywhere I go. Love it. No. So this guy here, you can see it almost looks like a shortboard, but the board just, it's easier to ride, keeps its speed. It floats really well. It's a little wider than what my shortboard would be.
Yep.
So at the ripe age of 41, I think it simplifies it. I have a blast on it. It holds in, but it just carries speed really nicely, and overall, it's a great board.
Now, on the original, not the original, the second high performance Puddle Jumper, were you riding that as a thruster or a quad as your favorite?
Mostly a quad.
Right.
And I talked to Matt, I said, I don't really like quads on shortboards, but I like, competing wise, I like the outline of a board that has a pointier nose.
Yeah.
Especially contest, it just punctuates your maneuvers. But I said, I want a shortboard feel, but not stray too far from the HP and be able to ride as a quad, because that was like an area of a board I didn't have that I liked.
Right.
And the first one he did, I was like, dude, this thing's money. And then he made Ben Kelly a board, and Ben was like, same thing. And I let a friend or two ride mine. He let a friend or two ride his, and they're like, well, this thing's like incredible. And so that birthed the Puddle Jumper Pro. Yeah.
Now, Nate, I'm stoked that you have a Puddle Jumper HP. This is the C4 Tech, which I love. But what I remember about riding this board is I loved it as a quad as well. It's because it's so wide for me in the tail that I felt like the thruster actually felt good underfoot, but the quad was kind of like the complete package. Yep. I could hold it on rail, it would help it would turn over on rail, and I could hold a big carve, or it was just like in the lip real quick, and the quad was the answer for me on this board, and it was a favorite of mine.
Yep.
Now, you're talking about riding the Puddle Jumper Pro as a quad. What fins are you liking in this board as a quad compared to maybe what you were riding in this?
That's rad, because this is an old board.
Yeah.
You can see I have some boards. A lot of these I don't even ride. I just can't get rid of them. They're so good. And this is one of those boards.
Yeah.
It's probably 6 years old. But you turned me on to the Hayden fins, which I really liked. Both of these boards have no issue with speed.
Yeah.
It has speed right off the get-go. And you said, hey, try the Hayden fins because they're really upright. And I was going back to ECSE for a contest, which is usually in the 1 to 2 foot range.
Yeah.
And those Hayden fins did help that board pivot. And like I said, speed wasn't an issue. So I tried those fins on this board, which I liked, but I think an overall balance feel, I like the bigger rear quads. Just it gave it a more hold.
Yep.
And I could push a little bit more. The Haydens were turned, I think, a little sharper, pivoted quicker, and were a little looser.
Yep.
But then the cool part is about the puddle jumper. This board, as you said, I didn't like as a thruster. This board I've liked as a quad, I've liked as a thruster. And it's fun to change up depending on the conditions.
Sure.
If it's mushier, if it's a little flatter, I go quad. And
Yep.
if I want more of a shortboard feel, more stability, I throw this as a thruster. And it's such a rad board that you can go from 4 fins to 3 fins. Works well in both and give it a total different feel.
Right. So let's talk about the bileless fins, because the quad rears, if you're saying they're a little bit bigger, do you find them to be more neutral in template? Because I know the side fins are more neutral, so it's the best of carve and pivot. So going to what you're saying, this board, because it's so wide, I felt like it needed a more upright pivotal fin to offset the width.
Yep.
This board, with it having more of a performance outline, you actually preferred a more raked fin compared to the Hayden shape on the sides, and that's the best of both for you? Is that?
I like balance fin overall in general. And this board, I usually play with fins if I'm having a hard time adjusting to a board, but I'll usually start with Matt's fins. I like John's fins. Timmy has a good fin. They're all kind of balanced in the middle.
Right.
And if it goes, then I'm like, rad, I'm on.
Right.
If it's lacking speed, I'll go with something more raked. If it doesn't seem like it's turning tight enough, I'll go with something more upright.
Right.
But these ones overall, I think Matt's fins work really well with this board.
That's great. So for me, I've been riding both PU and the light speed, flip-flopping back and forth between my quad set, which is a similar setup to what you have here. It's a neutral side with a more pivotal quad rear.
Okay.
And I felt like it's carrying that speed. I liked it as a quad, but the more I rode both boards, I kind of liked the thruster better, which is completely opposite of the Puddle Jumper HP.
Yep.
And I feel like for me, what I liked about the Puddle Jumper Pro is it's very user-friendly,
Yeah.
right? It's easy to surf. And I think coming off my full hip replacement surgery that I had last May, I think a lot of the footage was 5-6 months after hip surgery, and it was the first board that I felt comfortable getting onto with a performance outline.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I noticed is because I can't sit back so much on my back leg, because that's the hip I had replaced, is that it's pushing me to be more of a neutral footed surfer. So the quad didn't have the hold because it's missing that third fin. And I was feeling like at times at high speeds it was sliding out on me. And that's why I gravitated towards the thruster, because it gave me a little bit more stability, a little more something to pivot off of. But all in all, I kind of felt like the board's easy to surf. Like you said, the paddle's good, it's carrying good speed, and both quad and thruster felt good.
Yeah, totally agree. I like thruster overall better. I like the stability. But this one, when I talked about that, I told Matt, hey, the quad in this board is the jam. I don't have a shortboard outline board that I like as a quad. Could you take this board and apply more of a shortboard on the Puddle Jumper Pro, which he did, and as a quad, I think it's the only board I have that has this outline that I like as a quad, and it still turns well, and then the thruster just has the stability and I'm able to push.
Yeah.
The cool part is going to stores. I think we're known, Lost is really known as a very high performance driven brand.
Yeah.
A lot of people will go to shops and like, yeah, I want the driver 3.0, I want the sub driver. But talking to shop, Scott up at InFlight and a couple other different stores are like, hey, this is actually the board those guys should probably be on. And as you've had an injury, I had a back injury. I'm 41 now. I'm not surfing as much as I used to. I have kids, responsibilities. I could jump on this, get a shortboard feel, and it just makes it easier to have fun. It carries its speed, and I've had plenty of guys that are in the same boat, and they go, dude, this thing's like my new all-around board. I ride all the time, and I can still push. I can still feel like I'm ripping, you know?
Yeah.
But it just makes it easier, and it has glide, and you still can place your turns as you want, but it just carries speed through in the in-between, and just it's a really rad, user-friendly board.
Sick. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, Nate, is the different constructions you guys offered in. I've been doing the light speed, which I really like a lot. The PU poly felt razor sharp out there to me.
Yep.
Like when we were pushing it in overhead surf, I felt like I got the best turns on the PU Poly, which is opposite of what I usually feel when I'm surfing maybe head high and below. I'm always gravitating towards the special constructions, getting that extra pop or whatever. But this board was just knifing into the water real nice in the PU Poly. So that was my favorite out of the two that I was riding. I felt like I surfed the best on this. But I saw you ripping on the Black Sheep. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the Black Sheep construction, first of all, if you could see it, I've ridden this thing probably 50 times, maybe more. And I mean, the deck, I'm pretty heavy-footed, even down by the tail where the traction pad is on the rail. I mean, I don't think it's dented at all back there, so it's a really strong construction. It came out really light. I like the overall, it's a EPS, stringerless EPS, and then it's got carbon wrap from the bottom rails all the way across the top, and then the bottom's clear. But I liked the balance feel of an epoxy. Sometimes the epoxies seem a little too skittish in the past. I don't really ride them much in a shortboard, but this board, I love the construction. It had it seemed to hold in, it didn't dent, it was light, it had a really cool pop, but it wasn't oversensitive. I felt like this total carbon deck dampened the epoxy a little bit and gave it a really cool balance feel, and it just flies. And I've been riding it pretty much nonstop. My original one was a poly, which Matt made me. That was the prototype that I loved, and I was like, dude, this thing is money. And then we came out with this construction. This is actually just a stock board that came in when they first started building them that I grabbed. And right off the get-go, I was like, dude, this thing's got such a good feel. And both boards I've let people try, which is cool, out in the water. Like, hey, try this thing. What do you think? And I've got the poly overall just had a really cool, lively feel. And then in smaller stuff, this board worked insane too. Hey, Noel, well, thanks for coming out, man. It's such a pleasure reviewing this board. Casa Yeomans, you got to meet the family. This is Bella, my oldest. This is Isaac, aka the Tank, my middle one, and we have a little one. She's inside. She's doing something. But thanks for coming down. I want to thank obviously Matt Biolas for making the board.
Always.
Insane, love it. Thanks for working with me and creating this masterpiece. Mike, all the crew at Lost. And always fun working with you, man.
Likewise, Nate. Over. It's always a pleasure surfing with you. Guys, if you like the show, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Until next time, we'll see you in the water.
Shakas? Ciao. Throw some shakas. Yeah, guys.